This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. I woke up this morning as 58 degrees outside in Oklahoma, which ushered in probably one of the most hellacious allergy episodes that I've had. I literally woke up and had to take my hand like this and open up each eye, which then I went to go get the eye drops and got the allergy stuff. So I'm getting back in shape. Feeling like myself, but it took me a couple hours. I would imagine also it would take some time to get back into the swing of things after you've been to another continent. Team USA arriving home yesterday morning from their gold medal winning performance in the Black Bass World Championships. And we got the guys who won the gold medal, not only for the team, but also individually. I think also had big bass. I don't know if there was another one over 7. I think I saw a picture of Drew with 7, but there were 3 teams. So it was, and I'll say that the team that I think a lot of people everyone was looking forward to the teams, but the team of Jacob Wheeler and Kyle Welcher was like, okay, how are those guys going to do in the boats? Like, you look at what Kyle Welcher's done in his Angler of the Years, and then the hair that Jacob Wheeler is on. And then you had Scott Martin and Logan Parks. But I would venture to say the most intriguing team, and we'll see how they paired this captain. The captain of the team, I believe, was Kevin Van Dam. He didn't go over to South Africa for this. But the most intriguing matchup, the team that they're put together, and we got the Ryder Cup coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm a big golf guy, so I've been talking with Gleason a lot about the Ryder Cup, how they're going to do the pairings and stuff, was none other than OTT DeFOE and Drew Gill. And there they both are. So thanks for jumping on live from your home. And Drew, you're in the part of your career where you're a mover and shaker. You got to be places when people tell you to be places. And you're headed to, where is this located? Is this at the mothership?
This is at Timmy Horton's place. So this is at Willow Oak Lodge.
Okay, Willow Oak Lodge.
It's like a 4-hour drive from Atlanta.
Media deal at Willow Oak Lodge. So thank you guys for jumping on. Greatly appreciate it. And first of all, congratulations on winning it all in South Africa. And we'll dive into what it means, kind of behind the scenes, how important it is, the format, working together. Like this, I think, has potential to be a really cool show, learning wise and kind of moving the sport forward wise. You've been in this game for a long time. Agree with that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the neat thing with this event. It's the first time I've been part of the Black Bass World Championship. They offered me a spot last year in Italy, but it was during our kids' fall break, so I wasn't able to go on that one. But yeah, it's really neat. And I think a big part of it, if you look at the team of our anglers that were there, collectively, as far as our impressions on social media, there was a lot of, we were able to generate a lot of publicity around this just from our own socials, and it was supported by a lot of other stuff. I think MLF did some articles on it. I think Bass shared some stuff on it. But it's a neat part of it. This isn't an MLF deal. It's not a Bassmaster deal. It's not a NPFL deal. It's black bass for the whole world, and it gives an opportunity to bridge some of those gaps and just celebrate what we all love about bass fishing.
That's well said. So it's usangling.org, and I'd kind of known about this, and then I think it's well documented. I try to bring it up as often as possible. That I was on the Pan Am games, as you see the big bass there, and also the double gold. I try to bring that up. I have a note here to bring that up at least once a week while it's still fresh.
Absolutely.
But I did not understand the international aspect of this and how it was all tied. And if you go to the US Angling, it's just usangling.org. Like just under the freshwater teams, there's bass fishing youth. There's a Team USA carp fishing. There's an ice fishing. There's a kayak fishing, a predator fishing, and a street fishing. Then in the saltwater team series, there's a kayak, a surf casting, a surf fishing. There's a fly fishing adult, a women's, a masters, a youth. All of these are all part of Team USA. They wear the same jerseys. They go around the country. They have their own independent sponsors and things. So did you know any of this, Drew, when you were invited to be a part of this, or was this kind of international competition kind of new to you before you were announced as a team member with Captain Kevin Van Dam at ICAST 2025 in Orlando?
So,
settle down. Come back, Drew.
You have me?
I kind of have you. Jump off, jump back on, and maybe it'll be a little bit smoother. There we go. All right. I will ask you the same. What is your kind of knowledge of the international game?
Yeah, I knew that it happened, but I had no idea how big that it is. I didn't know that all that it entailed. I knew that I'd heard of the Pan Ams. I knew that part of it, but I certainly didn't know just the depth of all of it. The fact that it is as big as it is, and honestly, still learning a lot of that about it. That was a neat thing for me, was not just this experience, but learning just how much bigger it is than even what we saw this particular week. And that's like the next, not next year, but the year after. It is the full event, where it takes all those pieces that you were just talking about and combines that into one deal that's over, I think 2 weeks is what they said, 2 or 3 weeks, that all those other competitions take place in that 2 or 3 weeks time in one general area.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that. Let's give her another shot, Drew. Your kind of knowledge of the international game before you were selected by the KVD. Oh, Drew picked a bad spot for audio to pull over. That's the
worst racetrack.
Yeah, that's the worst racetrack in America. maybe roll down the road a little bit more and then try to join us. Like Ott's on like his coffee break in the morning. So you think there's any way you could like roll a couple more miles and then join? That's a rookie move, Ott. That's a rookie move there.
It's possible. I've got 5G and 3 bars, so I really don't know why it's an issue, but I will get back on.
Okay, well now we can kind of hear you, but you still
So do I get off or do I stay on?
Well, just stay on, and then if the audio goes bad, then you can roll. For a guy who likes technology, I'm just saying, Drew, this is kind of ironic.
It is extremely ironic. It is extremely ironic, but his youthful exuberance will power us through.
We'll give it one more shot then. Your knowledge of the international game.
Yeah. So I obviously was aware of the tournament, and it was something I definitely wanted to be a part of. Charlie Evans has been my ear about it for a little bit over a year now. But when Kevin Van Dam calls you and asks you to fish a tournament, it really doesn't matter where it is. You just say yes. So it was one of those things like when Kevin called me up and asked to fish it, I obviously was all in for sure.
What was that call like? Like, were you literally just sitting there? Like, did you have Kevin in your phone book? Like, how did that call go?
Yeah, so I was just fun fishing at the time with my uncle, and I'm fishing. And I looked at my phone, and I get a text that says, "Hey, it's KVD. You have a minute to talk?" And I said, "I absolutely can make time." And so I sat down, and he gave me a call. And it was like, "Hey, it's Kevin. We're putting together a team to go fish the Black Bass Championship in South Africa. Are you interested?" And I said, "Absolutely, 100%, Mr. Kevin, sir. I will go fish a tournament for you whenever, wherever. Just give me the details, and I'll be there."
Same with you, Ott. Did you get a call from Kevin saying, "Hey, we need to chat"?
Yeah. Kevin, he reached out and yeah, he was like, "Hey, here's what's going on. Here's where it's at." And obviously I've known Kevin a lot longer than Drew has, but so I had much more questions and, tried to poke the bear some. Kevin and I have a great relationship, so I always, want to make sure that he's doing his part as a captain as well. But no, yeah. It was one of those deals that once, and then knowing a little bit about where it is next year, I was excited about the opportunity to go to South Africa. But it was one of those that for me, I was, with the family, with all the other responsibilities, I kind of had to see what the schedule was and where it fit in, with everything else. But the opportunity to go to South Africa doesn't come around, every, all the time. So if I was able to make it work, I certainly wanted to do it.
I talked about the pairings, Welcher, Wheeler, Scott, Logan, and then you two. Was this team put together with the original thought of pairing up you two? Or when did you guys know, like, hey, like we're going to be fishing together for the 3 days, and then we'll get into the format as to why that's so important?
I think initially, I think it's one of those kind of deals of trying to assemble a team initially. Scott and Jacob have done it a bunch. The other four of us, this was our first time. All four of us. So Drew, myself, Logan, and Kyle. This was our first time for all four of us. But it was one of those kind of deals where once the team was assembled, hey, we've got commitments from these six guys. Then it kind of just became a deal, I think, largely with Kevin, and then with Scott and Jacob, of trying to pair the teams off in ways that would complement each other and ways that would make the collective group stronger. I don't think that there was anything much else other than that really went into it. They were really just trying to make it collectively as strong as it could. And that's, if you look at it, like obviously Logan is really good with forward facing, and I'm not going to, I mean, we had this discussion when we were there. I mean, that's the strongest part of his game. Scott is good with it, but Scott's been around a long time and has a very, very wide skill set. Jacob and Kyle are probably, they complement each other both extremely well. They've both won tournaments with forward facing. They've both won stuff without it. I can't catch fish with it. Drew is obviously exceptional with it. So we, in my opinion, we probably had the widest end of the spectrum covered in some ways. If it was a completely, if forward facing was not going to be a factor in it whatsoever, I had that end of it covered. If it was going to be a factor, Drew certainly had that covered. So I feel like we had, it was a good way to balance the team out completely, where everybody's skill set either complemented or offset the other one's weaknesses.
Drew, I feel like you spent a lot of late nights thinking about how you were fishing with Ott, how this was going to come together, and how you guys were going to complement each other skill-wise and on the water and in the same boat together.
Yeah, so we got told how the teams were going to be paired and how it was going to set up in August, right at the beginning of August. So we had a bit of over a month to think about it. But it's one of those things, like we knew who was going to be on the team. We just didn't know how it was going to sort out teams-wise. Had my assumption it was going to be Jacob and Kyle fishing together. So really it was just going to be, who was going to fish together amongst Scott and Logan, me and Otter. And I was really hoping that I'd get paired with Ott, just because I knew if I got put with Ott and when they said I did, like that right there was my parachute. Like if we went somewhere and it was totally out of my wheelhouse and something that I was not comfortable taking the helm on, like right then and there was the opportunity to make sure that, like, no matter where we got put, no matter what we were doing, we were going to be well taken care of. Because I promise you, if it was the dirtiest, grimiest, nastiest, most filled place that you can imagine, if it was just ripping 7 miles an hour down the lake everywhere, I knew we were good. And that's the thing that I'm least comfortable doing for the most part is heavy current, shallow fishing, vegetation. Like, and Otter is incredible at all those things. So it was one of those situations where I was like, now, because of the fact that I get to fish for that, like, and I was honestly, personally kind of pulling up on a place like that because I just wanted to watch him get to do that. And obviously Arabi Dam was a little bit different than that situation, but I knew that no matter where we went, we were going to be well taken care of. So that was something that really excited me.
I never even considered this, but as I kind of followed the tournament, I discovered, down there in South Africa, the Arabi Dam, it's only a 3,200 acre fishery for roughly 45, 50 boats that were in this thing. It's the spring there, and the fish were on the beds. How much? I mean, you've fished everywhere under every condition over the course of your life. How weird was it going from a mid to late summer bite in Tennessee to going to South Africa and in 24 hours having to completely switch your, I mean, that doesn't exist in the United States. I know you can be up north, but like Florida's is a different animal. They spawn down there. Right. You could go from that, but you're literally taking an entire year and then saying, all right, let's flip it 180. Was that a little bit of an adjustment for you?
It definitely was, you know, but the good part was that we kind of already knew that going in, you know. Had I really not considered it, I don't know that I would have put two and two together to realize that it was spring down there instead of fall. You know, but we talked about it and you know, talking with folks there, and they're like, yeah, no, we're coming out of our winter. And so that kind of put it all into perspective, you know, a little bit before we got there. And you know, once we got there, that was our immediate thought process, is trying to figure out what stage of the spawn are these fish in. Have they just gotten started spawning? Have they been spawning a while and there's going to be some post spawn fish? Or, you know, so that it was really, really weird to be somewhere in September though, and it be springtime, literally, you know, their springtime. But once we understood that, it was pretty easy to start. I say pretty easy. It was, stuff started to make sense. And honestly, a clue that, because it's not like our lakes here, it's not super easy to just punch in water level for Clarks Hill Lake and pull up and find a chart and, okay, the water's been up, the water's been down. And that's such a big deal in the springtime, in and around the spawn, to figure out exactly how those fish should be set up. Because then you realize, okay, it's spring. Well, then you look at the weather and try to figure out the temperatures, and then you put the boat in the water and see what the water temperature actually is. And it was warm, you know, it was like upper 60s, low 70s when we got there. So when you see that, you're initially thinking, well, this isn't the first group of fish that should be spawning. There should be some fish that are definitely done by now. But and then I mentioned that about the lake levels. We got to realize, and I think it was fairly early the second morning of practice, wasn't it, Drew, where we were in that area and saw that line of debris up on the bank. And so this Arabi Dam, it isn't it's used for irrigation as its primary purpose. They don't have hydroelectric dams there, or at least this one isn't. So you got to be careful, because you're running down the lake and you see these two big concrete abutments come out, and then it just looks like the water keeps going, but it doesn't. That's the spillway. Because the top of this dam is just a spillway that's half a mile wide, maybe, or so, quarter of a mile wide there, the actual spillway part itself, something like that.
Probably.
So
right.
You know, so
it's so weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. So, you know, but realizing on the banks that the water had been probably 3 or 4 feet higher.
Is that it? Is that the shape of it? Is that
that's it? Yeah. Yeah. You got it.
So there's like nothing around there like that. Like,
nope.
And it's small and narrow.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it ain't got a bunch of creek arms or nothing like that. It was about 15 miles end to end. I mean, so given that, it probably ain't but 40 or 50 miles of shoreline. It's not a big place. But realizing that water had recently dropped, you know, was a big deal. That kind of helped us realize that, hey, because my initial thing, as soon as we put the boat in the water, I got on the bank, you know, and 18 inches of water, and realized pretty quick that is not where the better quality fish were.
And so your practice days were called learning
training.
Training. So you get in the boat, Drew, you're with Ott. How does that process work together in the boat during your 3 training days?
I think the first day was kind of a litmus test. The first day was just figure out what direction we need to go. So the first day we really didn't have much of a plan. And I think that's how it should be whenever you're going to somewhere that's 8,400 miles away. Like, we tried to strategize. We tried to talk about what was going to be possible, what the scenario was going to be. And I'd say about 2/3 of the assumptions we were under there were wrong. So I mean, all those assumptions and playing on all those things that we had heard or read, that was a really dangerous thing. It always is, even over here on lakes that are well documented. They have lots of data to show how they are and what changes, lots of tournament information. Like over here, we had a lot of hypotheses, a lot were wrong. So we just kind of tried to go in the first day going, we're going to see the whole lake. We're going to run around. We're going to try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and see what kind of speaks through. And so we started out on the bank for the first part of it and poked around. There's a pretty big carp population, both grass carp and Asian carp. And that was one thing that was pretty important to see right off the bat. But it was really like the first hour of practice was like, holy cow, like we're in Africa and we're bass fishing. Like the first bite I got, I was like, what? It's a bass? Like, even though you're trying to believe it, you really can't.
Do they act just like what are they? Northern strain? They're big. So Florida strain or like
I think they're Florida. Yeah.
Okay. Any differences that you notice on how they behave different than fish in the United States, or is a bass and it doesn't know what continent it's on?
I couldn't tell much difference personally. Yeah, I don't. Nothing really jumps out at me. You know, the biggest thing that probably affects anything about them was just their type of bait fish, and apparently they don't have hardly any crawfish there. And this lake was pretty void of bait, to be quite honest. There was some bluegill and maybe some little bit of bluegill type stuff, panfish, mostly tilapia type species, but some stuff that looked a little bit like shiners. But Drew mentioned about the carp. That was something we didn't really realize. So somebody I think later on mentioned that a lot of those fish, when those Asian carp spawn, that they probably eat a lot of those small carp. It's kind of their food source. So that would be the only major difference, but it's really not because they're in South Africa. It's because that's what they have to eat.
Mm-hmm. And so the owner of Tomcat, he's like, I think I've got this right, because I think I shared a hot tub with him at a Mexican lodge in the Pan Am games, and maybe shared some adult cocktails with the South Africa team. But he had Tomcats made, wrapped, dialed in, 3 of them for you guys when you got there. Drew, talk about like the electronics on it, like what you were working with. I mean, they looked like top of the line, brand new 250s with poles and scope and the whole 9 yards on them, waiting on you guys, which I know is a big part of international competition. It's not like you're gonna ship the nitro over, overseas to South Africa for one tournament. But that seemed to be like something really badass that the South Africans did to make sure the Team USA was it was hooked up with the proper vessels.
Yeah. Yes. So we were in brand new Tomcats. They were in great shape. Had Lawrence Ghost, Lawrence Grass on ours. Had a 250 Pro XS, an 8-footers. But each boat was set up a little different. Scott had a Yamaha and Garmin's rolling motor, and Wheeler and Welcher had a 300 Pro XS on their same graph setup as we had. But they were equipped super, super well, and that's a big thing. I mean, we had the best of 3 teams, of 3 boats. We had the best scenario that anybody had at the tournament. We had new boats with new equipment on them, and we had a team of like 5 people there that could troubleshoot any problems we had, and they were willing to go and figure out if we had any issues. They were going to go and they were going to find a way to get us back on the water as fast as possible, no matter what they had to do that, which was a huge part of that tournament.
You have a little team experience with your buddy there. You've won a little bit of money in the team, but this is a team experience within a team. When I went to Mexico, one of the things that really stood out to me was how freaking serious Scott took this. And yeah, he does his camera and he does his videos and stuff, but when it comes to working together as a team, to representing the United States, to putting in the time, I could not have been more impressed with how hard Scott worked and actually brought the team together. Was that kind of the case down there where you guys constantly, after all of the training sessions and practice and days, were you guys going back and really kind of pooling together all of the brain power that was on that team?
Yeah, we were. Was Jacob in the event you were in as well or not?
He was not. That so the reason I was in the event was none of the there were several top anglers that were not able to make it,
What?
which slid down to the invite because I had a boat and truck and was willing to take the 200-mile trip into Mexico.
Well, so my point in asking is because Scott does take it serious, but Jacob could not take it any more serious. It might
Really?
as well have been Red Crest. Like there, it could not be any more serious. So no, Scott does take it serious, but that's why I asked because, and not that Drew and I didn't take it serious, but we, we definitely did. But yeah, no, Jacob could not take it any more serious than any event he's ever participated in his whole life. But
yeah, they were.
Yeah, go ahead.
They were hardcore. They were super locked in. And I'm going to be honest, like just pure transparency, they were totally okay with flying 8,400 miles to, in terms of mammals, the most biodiverse ecosystem of giant mammals that's ever existed on the face of the earth and not going on a safari. They were fine with going 8,400 miles and seeing cows the whole time. And that was one thing that me and Ott just weren't okay with.
Nope.
And we even leveraged that a little bit in practice. At the end of practice, we took 2 hours to go see some cool stuff, and they did not consider it, not 1 second.
Nope. No, we the last day there was on our text thread, there was an opportunity. It's like, hey, you could only train until 4:00, but we could be back at the ramp at 2:30 and hop in the van and go on a safari. And we said, sign us up. We'll absolutely give 90 minutes of training
100%.
away to go on a safari.
And
So that's why I asked
Jacob
about
and
the
Kyle
seriousness.
stayed on the water and grinded it out for another couple hours.
Till 3:59
So
and
did
50
Scott Logan.
seconds.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The format for this,
Mhm.
it's unique. It's 3 days, but each day is its own individual day. It's a scoring system where the points go from 1 to last place. So you finish in first on the first day, you get 1 point. You finish in 50th, you get 50 points. They combine the 3 teams. Your point total, you want the lowest point total, almost like a golf, like a golf score. You want the lowest point total at the end of every day. I was surprised. Like Italy was rocking and rolling the first couple days. All their teams were in the top 10. What was it about that fishery that kind of jived with Italy? Like I know they have bass there, but I'm looking at it, I'm looking at you guys, and I'm saying, man, like that kind of surprised me at how strong Italy was throughout this.
I would assume, just given the way that Drew and I caught our fish, and that's a neat thing or the unique thing with it. Like we were in boats that we were pretty easy to spot when you were running down the lake between our red jackets and the boats we were in. But a lot of these other teams weren't. If they didn't have their jersey showing, you didn't know who's who. So it's kind of hard to tell. We don't truly know how anybody else was fishing for sure, but I assume their proficiency with forward-facing sonar. And I mean, man, they've just got strong anglers. Like you look at their performances over the last few years, and they're definitely one of the more consistent countries that has been in this event. So, and they've got a lot of young guys on their team. Sub 30-year-old anglers, and yeah, just a very strong group.
Drew, how'd you guys end up catching them in the tournament then? Oh, go ahead.
One sidebar is amongst a handful of nations, like Italy through MLF always sends representative team to the Toyota Championship. So like they get some U.S. experience every year, at least for one big event. They get the opportunity to fish against 200 boats, fishing out of the borrowed boat concept. Like those guys are locked in. They've got some experience in the States. They go and they'll pre-practice for tournaments. Like these guys are super legit in Italy. They've got one team that had not lost individual gold for like 3 years. I mean, they had one team that had won individual gold every year until this year. So like Italy, my hat's off to them. They are impressive, super, super good. And they did not have a bad team, which was something like across the countries. I think really the big advantage that the U.S. has is we're going to send three wholesome teams. We're going to send 3 teams that are capable of going out and potentially winning the tournament. And you can't say that about every country, just because of their access to to water and to equipment and to tournaments. But Italy's one where you can definitely say they had 3 teams that were capable of going out and winning.
Yeah, I know MLF has done a big push on that. Portugal, South Africa, Spain, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Mexico, Korea, Japan, Italy, China, Canada, a lot of international. So how'd you guys end up catching them then? I know you had a giant one day. I've heard the term cruisers. I know there's a little bit of sight fishing. You mentioned that scoping did play. Like what was the game plan, Drew?
So I would say this one was hodgepodge. We didn't have a one take approach. We weighed fish on probably 7 different baits throughout the tournament. Anywhere from we weighed one on a frog the first day to weighing some totally suspended fish on a jerkbait. So like this lake, the fishery itself reminded me a lot of like some Oklahoma and North Texas fisheries. It was stained to clean. It had a lot of rock, a lot of timber, and a lot of trash fish. But in the way the tournament fished, it fished like a Florida tournament. Catch 2 giant ones a day. Doesn't matter what the rest of your fish are. Catch 2 giant ones a day. And so in that mindset, we really fish a lot of new water every day. We didn't retread a ton of stuff. We tried to keep it fresh and try to stay around new opportunities. So we caught, I'm trying to think back, like first day we caught a frogfish, 3 suspended fish in the river, and a fry garter that was 4.6. That was a really, really cool fish catch. I almost caught it with the bait that I hung up a jerkbait on a stump. An otter almost caught it with my bait hung up on the stump. Fish rolled over the top of the stump with the jerkbait just sitting there motionless, and it bit my jerkbait. But ended up catching that fish. So caught frogfish, 3 floaters, fry garter. Second day, caught a 7-pounder on bed, 5 1/4 on a piece of timber, a 7-pounder that was just swimming down the bank, and then had a couple other 2 and changes just doing whatever. And then the last day we had a 7-pounder on the dam, a 5-pounder that was guarding fry, a 4-pounder that was just swimming down the bank, and then we had a chatterbait fish that was high 2 and another drop shot fish that was high 2. So that was our bag the last day. So we did a little bit of everything. It was definitely a hodgepodge.
That makes so much sense with the team then. Between like what Ott's good. I mean, dude, when Ott won Rookie of the Year on the Elite Series, he never caught a fish deeper than 8 foot. And then we've got you with the jerkbait and the suspended. Like, yeah, that's a dream setup right there. Go ahead, Ott.
And I was gonna say too, like the one, looking at that map of the lake, the south end would be the upriver end, so that water flows south to north on that particular fishery. But the south end and the river, that was the one part of the lake that had a more consistent variety of fish sizes. And there were some giants up there. There were some really, really big ones caught, but you were more like in that part of the lake, you could catch more 2 to 3 pounders. It seemed as though the rest of the lake, it was like you might catch one that's 2 1/4, 2.5. And then you were more likely to catch a 7 than you were a 3.5. It seemed as though there were some year classes missing in this particular fishery. And Drew mentioned the variety of baits. Day 1, we stayed in that river section of the lake the whole time. The next 2 days, we never even went up there. So that was, we very much used the whole lake to our advantage. And like you said, we didn't really go back on any of the water that was real productive for us a lot of times. Everything kind of come from fresh water each day.
All of the U.S. teams fished exceptionally well. You guys won. You had 11.5 penalties. So each time you get a point, they call it a penalty. So like I said, each day was new. So you guys ended up winning the individual overall gold. Wheeler and Welcher, they ended up 6th overall. And then Scott Martin, Logan Parks ended up 8th overall.
I don't know if Drew had his handy, if he'd got out of his bag or not. So yeah, that's our individual stuff.
I'll tell you, at the Pan Am Games, that was the first time I'd ever gotten a medal, anything like that. And then to be wearing the United States hat and the jersey, dude, like
we should put them on, Drew. Go ahead and put it on for the rest of the interview.
Okay, deal.
But to kind of describe that feeling of what it was when you guys made that come from behind on the third day? Did you know you had it won when you came in? Was it not until the ceremony? You had basically 20 points to make up on that final day. Italy had a good lead. You guys knew you had done, but what was that when you guys all came in and realized? And then also, were you able to communicate on the water too and know what each guy kind of had and kind of work on the water? But that moment when you guys kind of thought, okay, you know, Italy stumbled a little and we stepped our game up a little, and this thing flip-flopped from first to second to first.
Yeah, you know, we had communicated throughout the day, and early on that final day, I want to call it championship day, but it wasn't
Fix your
technically
medals,
I guess.
You got to fix them. You got to fix them. There you go. Yeah.
Tangled up. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. That's
okay.
better.
Much
Yeah.
better.
Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, we had been communicating on the water, and we had decent connectivity over there as far as being able to text back and forth and call back and forth and stuff. And so we knew Jacob and Kyle caught like a 5.5 pounder in the first 30 minutes or something. And Scott caught a 3.5, like his first cast. And so that was a big boost because I had full confidence and mostly in Drew and my net abilities on that final day that we were going to catch a big bag. You know, like I knew we were going to be around them, we were going to see them, and it was just going to be, you know, as long as we land them, we're going to be all right. So the fact that those guys had a fish that they needed right out of the gate, you know, was kind of a big relief. But it is like you know, we needed. It's terrible to say, but we needed an Italy team to struggle that day. That's what it came down to. We could have finished first, second, and third, and they finished fourth, fifth, and sixth. They still beat us. You know, so that was, you know, and there's no live leaderboard. There's no other kind of updates with the rest of the team. So that was the deal. So we felt like we had done kind of as much as we could do on that last day as a team collectively, but we still didn't know how it was going to shake out.
Did you feel pressure, Drew?
Going into that last day, definitely, because we were 2 points behind in individual gold, and we were 19 behind in team gold. So obviously, going out there, our best chance to try to chase down team gold was going to be to catch them as good as we possibly could, and to have a realistic chance to win individual gold, especially with the team that had won the last however many years in a row, beating us by 2 points. We were just going to have to go out and crack them. So I knew we were going to have to go catch realistically 18 plus to have a good shot again. And that's what we didn't end up having to catch that much to win individual gold, but we knew our best shot was going to be us going out and trying to win the day again, winning up individual gold and trying to make it where we're taking no penalty points between me and Otter, because I knew we were doing the right deal to go out and catch a mega bag again. It was just going to be a matter of, do you get 0 opportunities, 1, 2, 3? Because if you get 3 chances, you look like a super mega hero. You get 2 of those chances, you probably won it. You get 1 chance, you're going to have a good day. You get none, you're going to have a bad day. So, you know, between 0 and 3 chances is how many chances you were going to have in a giant one. But if they all went your way, you were going to look like a hero. And if you botched all 1, 2, or 3 of them, you were going to look like a failure. So it was one of those things, had a lot of pressure, but didn't really have a very pointed way of going out and intentionally manufacturing those opportunities. We just had to do a little of this, a little of that in the wind, and be able to capitalize on it when we got the chance.
Yeah, he mentioned it there, Matt, and you may not be aware of it, but it was the whole time we were there, our training days and the first 2 days of competition were exactly the same day. It was Groundhog Day every single day. It was 51 degrees in the morning. It'd get up to 90 something, and there wasn't a breath of wind whatsoever. The final day, it was cooler, and we had, starting off, 10-mile-an-hour winds. By the time it was over, it was gusting to 30 or 40. You know, so that was the only day that was any different. And that wind we knew would make it, you know, it'd make it harder on everybody, make it harder on everybody to fish, to move around, all the things. You know, but yeah, that was the final day was the only day that was any different whatsoever from the weather, start to finish.
Yeah, and you know, the top fishermen in the world are the best at making adjustments, and the more time you give the top fishermen in the world time on a body of water, and then making those adjustments on the fly, I think that's when the cream really rises to the top, which is, it sounds based on what you guys said was this was a prime example of that. And you guys all, took advantage of that on the, particularly on the final day as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Drew, I'm going to let you go. We got through it mostly. I think I saw Bigfoot walk through that grainy footage in the back because that's the only time that we see him. But I know, like I said, you have places to be, and I'm going to let you roll. I want to keep on after the break, and I want to dive into kind of, one of the reasons I wanted to highlight this is that the U.S. is hosting the World Championships, this tournament next year on Lake Hamilton in Hot Springs. And I think you guys would agree that after you've seen kind of the pop, the circumstance, how important this is to the other countries, to bass fishing as a whole internationally, and as the world shrinks through technology and we see Australians and Canadians and Mexican anglers and stuff winning tournaments in the United States. Like, I think this is a big opportunity to take international fishing to the next level. So I'd like to kind of pick your brain on that. Drew, I'll let you get on the road. Greatly appreciate you stopping. Congratulations on the big dub.
I really appreciate it.
All right, you're the man.
Drew, again, it was an honor to fish with you all week. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks to you, Otter.
You better walk in with those on when you get to Timmy Horton's place. Like, you don't have a pair if you do not walk in with the gold medal, the double gold medals on. There you go. All right. Here we go. See ya. All right. Well, we somehow managed to manufacture our way through that. So I think we did it pretty good. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I kind of want to put this, like I said, into perspective, kind of where this sits in the angling community, and just have a discussion with you on it. If you're good with that.
Sounds good.
Coffee. I know you've got you have the river to your right or to the left?
Straight out in front of me. There was
out in front. Yeah.
I got distracted right as we got started. A bald eagle actually landed in a tree over there. It was really cool. We'd see him flying around, but he landed in a tree right over there. It was cool.
Living the good life. Yeah. All right, it is. It's BTL on a Tuesday. We'll be back right after this.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing, and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
I fish in some of the worst elements across the country. Spring. That's a giant, dude. Summer. Oh my gosh. Hi. Look at that thing. Winter. It's so cold. And fall. Got a big one. That's awesome. Being comfortable and staying dry is the only option. AFCO. Any fish, any water.
At Beat Down Outdoors, we know you depend on your gear to hold up in any condition. We built for that. We test for that. In fact, we pride ourselves in that. Because we know when the time comes to test your gear, you aren't going to take it easy, so we won't. We build premium, made in the USA products that you can rely on in the moments when your equipment should be the last thing on your mind.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Tuesday, chatting with Ott. Now, you said this was the first time kind of experiencing this thing. I experienced it for the first time at the Pan Am. I know that Scott said that the World Championships are a whole nother level from the Pan Am, but it was painfully clear to me after what I experienced, and then after kind of seeing what it's like and what he said, that this U.S. angling and international competition is a drastically undervalued, underrated, and undercovered series in the United States. Do you agree with that?
100%. You know, the enthusiasm and the appreciation for bass fishing that these other countries have is something that is very contagious. And, you know, you can compare it to a lot of different things in our country. But seeing places like Germany or Australia I don't think Germany can't have tournaments. They may have bass. I'm not even sure if they have bass. Australia doesn't even have bass. I mean, we've heard Carl Jocumsen talk about that, for years, that they actually go bass fishing. He had to go to a different country. They have other, predator fish that are, act pretty similar to them. But to see their enthusiasm and their love of bass fishing, when you combine that with the difficulty of actually doing it, I mean, I'm very, very blessed to live where I live, to grew up where I grew up, and the fact that I can walk out here in my backyard and catch a bass on a public body of water. I mean, it's not a private pond, but I mean, there's not a lot of places in at least the eastern half of our country that you're not within 20 minutes of a bass. I mean, most places less than that. You get out west and water becomes a little more scarce, but um, dude, the availability to bass fishing in our country, there is nowhere any better. So you see how hard these people how much effort they have to put in to go and enjoy it is definitely, something that is encouraging.
So there's a lot of people who have put a lot of time, sweat, and effort into making the USA bass and the USA angling what it is, particularly on the bass side. I mentioned Scott and Jacob's done a really good job too of that. Charlie Evans in the past. I do want to mention Mark Schlarb, who passed away after the Pan Am Games. He was the USA Bass team president, and dude, just from the week that I spent with him, you could see the passion, the time, the effort that he put into that, to kind of recognizing and making the international game relevant to see what it is. What do you think needs to happen when they go to Hot Springs next year to really put the international game on the map for the fans and the viewers? Like, is there a formula to where the people who are following, Chris Johnson's Angler of the Year and the BPT and the team series go, okay, we're setting this aside, Ryder Cup style. We're all coming together, and the fans of every league and everything, we're coming together to support a country and the anglers who are on that team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of opportunity with that with that event in Hot Springs next year. And I want to quickly touch on what you mentioned there. I had never got to meet Mark. Sounds like he was a great individual. But John Knight, who was there, and did everything on site for us as our team. Huge thanks to John. But Clint Skinner, who lives in Zimbabwe, originally from South Africa, he was there with us the whole time as well. And us having a successful trip was largely in part to those two guys there. And then the guys with Tomcat Boats, Jurgen and Vincent, both of those guys as well. They certainly deserve a huge shout out. But John Knight and Clint Skinner were our, I mean, did everything for start to finish. But yeah, the event in Hot Springs, I think there's so much opportunity there, again, because of all the resources that we have here. And we were brainstorming that with John a lot, and different ideas and how to make that event the most grand thing it could possibly be, and really help put it on the map, because of the amount of media that we can have and generate there. And like this event here, we were Logan Parks and Scott both have Starlink units, and we were going to this event with the hope of live streaming each day from each boat. But Starlink's not allowed in South Africa, so we weren't able to do that. But that kind of stuff is the kind of thing that we're certainly going to do. I would expect next year, just on our personal team. But so much of it will be covered live, and then of course repurposed and used. And that was, Scott had two shooters there, Corbin and McCoy, and then Jacob brought Nick along with him there. So, and then I'd self-filmed kind of the way that I do, and we'll have JD go through and make a video for me of my trip. But so this event will end up with a lot of press, just from what we do, by the time it's over with. But we've got, just as anglers talking with John, during this event and after this event, and it being hosted in the U.S. next year, there's a lot of opportunity that I think we can make this by far the biggest one yet. And the world really see just that they can see, they know the US's thoughts on bass fishing, but that they can understand Italy's, and that they can understand Spain, and they can understand Australia, and they can understand, Eswatini and like I mean all the other countries that are there, and how much these places love bass fishing. There's a lot of opportunity.
I've got a lot of thoughts rolling around in my head, but it's no secret. MLF is a privately owned for-profit business. Bass is a privately owned for-profit business, but they have also a lot of capabilities when it comes to the live streaming, the media, the publicity, the eyes on it. I would love to see a way that makes sense for Bass, for MLF to combine their media assets to make it worthwhile and valuable for them to come together and promote this. The WIFM, as Mark Jeffers used to always talk about, the what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And I know you have different sponsorships. Bass Pro Shops has come on big. There's a number, Epic. There's a lot of companies that support it that make it happen. But you don't get money for this. You don't get paid for this. You DeFOE out of your pocket probably spent quite a bit of money to go over to South Africa, and the prize was the gold medals and representing the team. But I'm just spitballing here. They're those organizations, the people with that need to come together to where that's the lead story on Bassmaster when this is going on. It's also the lead story on MLF when it's going on. There's people from MLF, from Bassmaster that are over there, like it is in the Ryder Cup, where you have live golfers and PGA golfers with the world rankings that come together for that national pride, that country pride. It takes a lot of thinking to figure, but there has to be some sort of circuitous route to get to where both of these organizations use their best assets and their media platforms instead of just the individual anglers and then a press release that comes out on it. Am I way off base on that, on thinking that?
I hope not. I hope that that's something that could be done. I really do, because there's so much benefit to that, and it would hit all of the bass fishing community if that were the case. And yeah, I hope you're not way off in thinking that, because this is the kind of thing that you can put any differences aside, and we can all get behind bass fishing as an international, worldwide thing, and that everybody should come together to support. There's just not a lot of negative in it.
I agree.
That I could see.
The other thing, and Colin bring this up, he says, we need other countries to try. Like, there are countries that their top anglers are there. Like, I mean, we went to like Mexico, but each country, I would assume similar to the Olympics, decides on how their team is set up differently. I know Canada has qualifying events. The US, that's always been kind of the question, like, how did you get the invite? Who got it?
Correct.
Like, is there should there be some sort of ranking systems, whether you use the Bass Fan World Rankings or some other international ranking system that ranks them, and then you have KVD who has the captain's picks? Like, what do you think the right way to assemble Team USA should be, like, moving forward?
Yeah, I definitely think that there is a selection process to that. You look at a lot of those other countries, like you mentioned. I actually had that conversation with some of them. They were like, how did you all qualify to fish for your country? And I said, well, for us, it was really kind of I would call it more of a selection process than it was a qualification. It was, they had a list of anglers in mind who they wanted on the team. And it was, I feel like the way that it kind of went, for this year, it was, ability was obviously a huge part of it. A big part of it was availability. For anglers who were available and willing to go, was another big factor in it. And then also your ability to produce media, to have stuff that was, where you're going to, add some media value also for the team was a big part of it. So that was, I feel like, kind of our selection process on the US side. Most of the other countries, it's literally a points deal. I mean, and they fish, their national tournaments and stuff to qualify for their country to be able to represent them in this. For the US, I think it was kind of one of those kind of deals where going to South Africa was a little bit of paying your dues to make sure you got to fish in Arkansas next year, because not everybody who was, was available to go or had the desire to go all the way around the world, to do that. And I understand. I mean, I've got a wife and 3 kids, and so to take that time away from them was definitely a sacrifice on my part, but I thought it was something that I wanted to be a part of, and that I was thankful for the opportunity to represent the country in. But yeah, it's always kind of been a, who got selected, how they get selected. It was a little shot in the dark, try to figure it out.
Yeah, and I would love to see, you mentioned it there, like Okoye, Taku, Marizo on Team Japan, but I also understand how it's different. I'd love to see Gussie, Chris and Corey, Cooper, I'd love to see Carl, Tommy Wood, who's doing a hell of a job this year to go qualify headed to the EQs, but I'd love to see, like, there are some of those international recognizable names, and when you do go to the Olympics, when you go to that, like, that's where you get to see the brand names atop, which also kind of brings to it. Like, I feel like there's so much potential here that we're just beginning to scratch the surface on the international competition. The biggest factors are, like you said, availability, like with the families, there is a cost in it, the sponsorship, and then the scheduling of getting everybody on the same page for this. But I the goal is the Olympics. Do you think that, having fished one of these now, do you think that is a moonshot, or do you think that this is more realistically looking Ryder Cup international celebration of bass fishing every year, every couple of years culminating, or do you still think that the Olympics is on the table?
In the grand scheme of things, I truly have no understanding as to what it actually takes to make it into Olympic qualification. I really don't. So I'm going to say that I feel like that is a little more far-fetched. And I certainly hope that me saying that isn't taken as a negative in any way, but I just because I have no idea what it actually takes. And
I got it right here. You want to hear it?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. To get a sport into the Olympics, this is a criteria that has to be met. Recognition. The sport must be recognized by the International Olympic Committee and supervised by the International Sports Federation to meet IOC standards. So
that's it.
You'd have to go through all that. Then you have to have global practice. The sport must be practiced in at least 75 countries or on 4 continents for men and 40 countries and 3 continents for women. Compliance. The sport must comply with the World Anti-Doping Code. IOC approval. You need the Sports International Federation must file a petition with the IOC, which will review it, and then the final decision to include a sport in an Olympic program is made by an IOC session where members vote on the proposal. The process is not only about the sport itself, but also about its potential to enhance the Olympic Games' appeal and reflect modern traditions.
I think it's a shoe-in then. I mean, because Logan easily passed our anti-doping test that he had to take the other day. So,
so there it is. But
yeah. No, I think, I mean, given that criteria, I don't see why in the world it wouldn't, that it wouldn't make it. But even if it's nothing more than an annual deal where all these countries get together and we celebrate catching black bass, like, that's great. I mean, especially if it gets. And that's what we'll add. I don't want to say legitimacy to it because that's not truly what I mean. But if Gussie and Cooper and the Johnston brothers, if they fished for Canada, and if we had, 6 of the top anglers from Japan fishing for Japan, like that would elevate it.
A Ryder Cup feel, the Ryder Cup feel where you've got Rory McIlroy in a 1-on-1 match against Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, absolutely. Because just because you don't know Leonardo Benisi from Italy, because you don't know that name, he qualified. He earned his spot to be there. So whether we at the U.S., whether we go through qualifiers to earn our way onto this team, or the selection process that's there, the fact that we're fishing against those other countries' very best anglers through their qualifying procedures, and then you take some of the biggest names from the Japanese anglers that are in the U.S. and Canada and put all those in it together, it wouldn't help the U.S.'s chances of winning.
No.
but it brings it up another level at that point. And it's something I would love to see.
Were your kids pumped to see gold medals coming home? Like, I mean, you've won a lot. You've got a lot of trophies and stuff, but you don't have any gold medals. Like, were they pretty pumped to see you when you got back with the hardware?
Yeah, they really were. They really were. And you know, to see pictures and the videos and everything that we got to see and do while we were there, they were pretty excited. I was pretty excited to be home, but they were pretty excited to see the gold and see the plaques and stuff. Yeah, they were. And then of course Parker's like, Dad, what'd you learn from Drew? Can you catch one on scope now? Do you know what you're looking at?
Talk me through that. Like, I know, so the bull, the PBR went to a team series, and I've watched a lot of behind the scenes stuff on that. And there were a lot of like younger bull riders who were like, why would I want to share the tricks of the trade with other guys who are going to compete for world championships, who are going to help me? Like, there was a little resistance when it came to the team sharing. And I think it's gone fairly well for them. I watched the team series. We've got a team in Oklahoma. There's a team down in the Dallas Fort Worth area that I follow. Like, I watch it when it's on, and I have never been on a bull in my life. Yeah. But I also feel like that, like in fishing, MLF has proven that the team series, but there's a big difference between jumping in the boat with Andy and jumping in the boat with someone else that, like, could something you taught them keep you out of Red Crest, keep you from winning Red Crest, or take $100,000 out of your pocket because they come back and go, hey, he taught me that trick and I beat your ass on it. Kind of walk through that dynamic in fishing. Like, is there a switch? Do you think there is some hesitation to that, or is there a benefit of getting the best guys in the boat sharing completely open with each other?
Yeah, so our team of Drew and I were the only team that actually fished against each other. So Logan and Scott don't fish against each other anymore. Kyle and Jacob don't fish against each other. Drew and I are the only two who fish against each other. I felt no hesitation from Drew because I asked him a lot of questions, and I felt no hesitation from him on answering that. And maybe it's because he knows this unk can't compete with it, regardless of how much he tells me. But watching him and learning from him, it took me 17,000 miles round trip. But dude, I got a master class. Now, if I can do anything with it or not, who knows? But I mean, 17,000-mile round trip, and I got to spend 6 days in the boat with, I don't care what anybody says, I'll go ahead and say it, the best forward-facing sonar fisherman on the planet. You can argue that as much as you want to. I don't care what your argument is, you're wrong. I got 6 days of getting to watch it, and it was absolutely incredible to see. And yeah, there's no doubt that I learned a lot while I was there. Will it change the way I'm going to approach every tournament on the BPT next year? Probably not, but will I at least be a little bit more prepared in some situations? Absolutely. But it was, and I've already talked to Andy Montgomery this morning. I was like, I texted him the other day. I said, hey, team series next week, bring you spinning rods. We're scoping the whole time. And he sent me back some colorful emojis, but saying bullcrap that we aren't, but no, it was a joy and an honor to fish with Drew. And the neat, Drew's 23. He's been fishing at BPT for 2 years now. I've been around, in the sport professionally for right at 20 years at this point. It was great to see the other countries, to see their excitement for the sport, all those things. Dude, it was so refreshing to be with somebody who is young, who is excited about it, who just the youthful exuberance. That's the best way I know to describe it, of bass fishing, because I've been around long enough. It's easy sometimes to get down and out, and this is that, and it ain't as good as it used to be, and blah, 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 blah. Dude, it's fun to be around somebody that's as positive of a person and as excited every day to go bass fishing as Drew Gill.
What's the difference between a rookie in 2011 who wins Rookie of the Year as a 25-year-old and a 23 to 25-year-old who's just breaking in and getting their first win in 2024 and 2025. You have an incredible perspective. You're just in the boat with one. You were that in 2011. Compare the knowledge base, the dedication, how the 25-year-old top of the game angler was in 2011 versus a 25-year-old top of the game angler in 2025.
Exactly the same person. I mean, that's who Drew is, and that was what it was nice to be reminded of. Like, I mean, he is as infatuated with bass fishing as what I was, and that's once you get older and you get married and you have kids and you've got all other things that are pulling you in different directions that are great things that, I mean, are blessings from God, absolutely. But you have all those other things in that are I don't want to say interfering, it's the wrong way to say it, but you have all those other things that are part of your life. Responsibilities, absolutely. And so bass fishing becomes the work, it becomes the job, it becomes the other responsibility that you have to dedicate enough time to. But it's not like, okay, I wake up on a Tuesday and I don't have anything else to do. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go fishing. Now I've got to mow the yard, or I got to do this, or I got, it's all the other things
that's my favorite thing to do. Dude, I cannot wait to mow the yard. Like, if I know I've got 3 hours and the next thing I'm doing is mowing the yard, and then as I'm mowing it, I'm eyeing what's hitting the weed eater as soon as I'm done. And then you get that fresh grass smell where you just walk out, especially if it's starting to get dark and you got that fresh grass smell and you're like looking over, you fold your arms, maybe pop a cold one and just kind of stroll around. Dude, mowing the yard is that's not a responsibility. That's an honor.
It's an honor. It's a privilege. But yeah, those are, because I look at it now, and I mean, when I was Drew's age, 23, 25 years old, dude, I was on the water 150 days a year. Actually fishing, and I know it's under 100 now, maybe closer to 200 days a year I was on the water. Back then, I'd go to the lake, I'd go to Loudon a day, I'd go to Cherokee, I'd go to Douglas, I'd fish 3 or 4 days a week. But now, it's, when I'm home, it's once a week, maybe. So it's a different stage of life. But it's just very refreshing to spend that time in the boat with him and see that firsthand again.
Yeah, I think that's important at the end. Did you know that the U.S. Angling is hosting the 2025 Street Fishing World Championships in Green Bay in October?
I had no idea. I wonder
this is all on the website.
Street fishing.
The United States Angling Confederation invites you to the 2025 PIP said for Street Fishing World Championships on the Fox River. The fishing will be along the urban waterways of the city of Green Bay. The venue of the Fox River hosts a variety of species, and host communities welcome it. I mean, it looks like a guy who's fishing off the bank with the. So
interesting. That Fox River chain, that's where we fished the team series last year, like Neenah, Wisconsin.
Yep.
That's what, I mean, I don't know if that's what that says, and I can't see it. But
the competition will showcase the fast-growing sport of street fishing, which combines the technical skill of competitive angling with the accessibility and energy of urban environments.
So I guess it's almost like city limits fishing kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have to fish from a paved sidewalk.
October. I was going to go to that. I'm getting married on the 25th, so I don't think I can skip the wedding to go to the World Street Fishing Championships. But I will tell you what, that sounds like a freaking great time, and definitely something you could probably go watch. Like, you want to talk about a spectator sport, go walk around Green Bay and watch them street fish.
Yeah, that does sound pretty cool. Yeah, so it's on the Fox River and Green Bay.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of different species here. There's carp. I see channel cats, flatheads, bass. I think it's like you just net and weigh whatever the hell you catch.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be pretty neat gig.
All right, I know you haven't been back. Is the jet lag hit? Usually, like, it's about 2 days after.
Yeah, so that was the way it was going over there for sure. Which I'm hopeful and thinking that coming west, coming home is there goes the eagle again. He's perched back up in his tree. That coming home will be easier than going there was, because going there, your day got short, and so then you're trying to go to bed early enough so that you're waking up at 1 a.m. and try to be ready for the day. Or at least here, it's like just tried to make it a really long day yesterday. And then, but now at like 2:30 this morning, I woke up and I was like, oh, I probably should get up. It's 8:30 in Africa, but was able to go back to sleep and sleep some after that. So,
all right, I'll let you get back after it. Can't thank you enough, Otter.
Thank you, Panger.
Have fun in that. You said you got the team series coming up. Have fun in that one.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I got to try to. Drew
Defend,
is not.
right? Are you defending?
Yeah, I guess so. So the crazy thing is, there were 4 winners last year in team series.
Drew.
Three of the winners are on our first day. Andy and I.
Jacob.
Oh, they moved Jacob? Okay. Well, Jacob didn't win.
Oh.
I don't know. As it was scheduled to where 3 of the winning
that sentence
teams
has ever been said.
yeah, Jacob didn't win. That 3 of the winners were on our first day. Drew and Marshall, one of them, and then Spencer and Matt Becker. So yeah. So I think that it's. Drew said next week. Drew Gill said that I'm not ought to friend next week. I'm ought to foe.
Yeah, dude, that's your alter ego is Arthur.
Yeah.
Arthur DeFriend.
Yeah, that's
And so Dave and I had alter egos. So James Overstreet's alter ego was Jimmy Underroad. Think about that one.
That's good.
We'll leave you on that one. Thanks, dude.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right, see ya. All right, the one and only DeFOE. Take our final break of the show. We come back, just kind of put a wrap on it and look ahead to the rest of the week. BTL on a Tuesday. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook. World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu, world's finest hook.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
All right, welcome back. Wrapping things up here. I am I think I'm all in on street fishing now. I just pulled up some videos from the 2024 Street Fishing World Championship. It looks like you kind of have like a takeoff, no audio on this. I have it muted here, but you know, you've got all the different countries getting their stuff together. Boom. Look at that air horn that signals the start of the day. You have the spectators on the top. You look at all the people lined up along the bank representing all the different countries. You got guys on bikes. You got anglers all over the place in different countries with the long nets and people netting it, the tiny fish, the big fish. Look at that. Running to get to their look, there's a representative from Team USA right there kind of talking about it. Dude, street fishing might be where it's at. I'd never heard of it until today. You want to talk about an accessible sport that anybody can compete in, and then I do. So I think I've mentioned a couple of times on the show. I've gotten into the matches over in or sessions, whatever they call them, over in Europe, where you have like your swim and then you're like baiting your swim, and basically like it's this elaborate way where they have like ground bait and maggots and meal and all sorts of different stuff where you like bring the roach and the carp and the F1s and all that in, and there's like a whole system to like baiting your swim to where you can catch them. But it looks like I see like a number 126 here, so I'm guessing there's like different sectors that you can fish in there. Very cool. All right, working on a show tomorrow. There's a chance we might have a planning session. It kind of depends. He's actually out on the water filming content live. That is the one and only Matt Steffen. I'll be heading up at the beginning of next month in October to do a 4-day Master Angler Quest with Matt Steffen. Before we go, and I'll probably talk about this every show through September 21st. The Bass Talk Live merch store is open for business. You can just go to the BTL website, which looks like it's from about 2001, and then just click on the BTL merch store. Opens it up, all sorts of specialty limited edition Frank Scalish stuff with that cool fish there. If you guys, I legitimately have had questions. I feel like when people want to talk about something, so I've had a lot of questions about. I've had several questions about where they can get BTL merch, the classic shirts, just for $25. All these are like high quality stuff, which is why they're not just like 19. Like I want something that I can wash 50 times and it'll work. And then the limited edition PVC patch hats. There's only 100 of those available either in the Pacific Rim Trucker, but this is the new edition. This is what I'm super excited about. New to BTL now. For less than $5, you might as well throw one of those in. Look at that BTL koozie. Like, you want to talk about class? You're hanging out, the night before your club tournament. You want to do a little bit of intimidation factor, maybe. You want to keep your beverage cold. You can get a BTL koozie now. That merch store is open through September 21st. So that way I can keep the prices down instead of having to buy a bunch of stuff. You order it through it, and then it goes to print on the 21st, and then it's shipped out after. If you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up on Instagram at Matt Pangrak. And I think that's it. So really appreciate Ott and Drew. Also kind of cool. Like, we had Steve Lopez on the day after he won the MLF Invitational on lacrosse. Seemed like a really good guy, really cool story there. Like I said, he basically was like a manager of a auto sales store, car dealership, and then was like, man, we're in part of the life. I'm making some money and doing this. So they did the RV thing for a couple years, and then they're like, man, we really need you back. So he went back, and then he won $100,000 this year. So I talked to Jody afterwards. They were on their way out to film day 5 with MLF, which is the kind of breakdown of how they won. And Jody said, dude, he goes, we freaking smashed him. It's going to be an awesome day 5. And he said they caught him a number of different ways. So definitely keep your eye out on that. And then day 4 on Thursday with Frank Scalish. And there's going to be a big announcement on that day for Bass Talk Live and the listeners. So like if you look at my hand right here, I got a little bit of bass palm going on right there. Like if you look like right in that area, that's like the area where like if you get bass palm in that. I went fishing yesterday. I caught them yesterday, but I went fishing for a reason. I had to test something that you guys can get involved with, and I was pretty pumped with it. I was not sure, like I wasn't completely. It's just something I'd never done before. Some things, and I did it, and I said, yeah, we're in on this. It's done. So maybe that announcement. And then, yeah, I'm not going to say anything about that. We got some stuff going on this week that tomorrow morning, hopefully, I will be able to announce. So moving, shaking with the BTL listeners, the BTL community. We will talk to everybody same place, same time tomorrow morning. See ya.